Hello, what's going on, guys? This is Evan again with Soundwarp Studios, and today we're going to be taking a look at the bass chain on this song Dung Blaster that I've been featuring in my last two amp sim videos, and really show how to dial in a really killer, grindy metal bass tone. Because honestly, with this bass tone, I could honestly pretty much slap on whatever amp sim I wanted and dial something in that would sound pretty crushing. And I'll say in general, one of the best tips and best secrets to a great guitar tone is an even better bass tone. If your bass tone is not there, you don't have a really solid low end and some really nice mids to gel with that guitar tone, your guitar is just going to sound really weak. So I'm going to go ahead, and what I'm going to do is I have a pretty lengthy chain. Was really happy with what I dialed in. As you see, there's a lot of plugins here. So I'm just going to walk you through this and kind of go step by step and showing the process of how I approach bass mixing, and how I did it on this song. So first of all, let's just hear the bass. So before we actually get started, let me just kind of drive home that point about the bass really making the guitar tone. Listen to these two together. I'm going to take the bass out, and then I'm going to put it back in and just listen to the difference it makes. And even further drive home the point, let's listen to the whole mix and take the bass in and out. I mean, when I mute that bass, the whole mix falls apart. So if this doesn't show you how important a bass tone is to your mix, I don't know what will. So anyways, let's break it down. So I got a lot of tracks here. Let's kind of explain what's going on first on the routing end. So this bass track here, this is my bass bus. This is just a bounce down stem, so don't worry about that. This is the main bass bus. I have some main bus processing on here. All of these following tracks, the shred, high, low, and bass DI, are all in this bass folder track. So all of them are being routed into here. The DI that I have right here, let's listen. Oh, it's actually not routed anything. Okay, it's not going to be that easy. So I actually don't have this routed to anything other than low, high, and shred. So as you see here, 7, 8, 9, low, high, shred. It's going there, but it's not going out to the master. So this track is here, but you're not actually hearing any of the DI. It's just feeding these tracks. What we'll do is we'll split this, and I typically only will do like a low and then a mid and a high band, but I was, I guess, feeling a little bit creative and did this shred, which we'll show is just kind of this like high-end, mega distorted sound that really makes the bass stick out in the mix. So we split these all out by EQ band, and what I mean is one of the first things you'll see is I'm filtering it out. So this low track, you're just hearing the low frequencies. So let's bypass all these plugins. So that is actually the DI sound. All right, so what we do is we'll filter this so we only hear the sub lows. This track, we're not really going to do a whole lot of distortion at all. We just want this to be a really solid low end for our bass. like I said, just those sub lows. And then from there, I'm going to add this pedal. This is basically just going to add a little bit of drive just to kind of saturate the low. There is a big volume drop there, but just adding a little bit of distortion to the lows. And then we have another EQ, which is doing absolutely nothing. So that's the secret, guys. You got to have a blank EQ. Sometimes in mixing, you just throw a plugin on there thinking you're going to do something. You end up not liking your move that you were making and testing out, and then you just forget to delete it. And then the limiter, L1, this is, we're just going to crush it to keep that low end consistent. So listen, when I bypass this, the low end's kind of all over the place. Really pins down that low end, and it is distorting it a little bit, but honestly, you're not going to notice that as something that would be bad in the full mix. If anything, it gives a little extra saturation. So I love L1 for lots of reasons, but on bass on the low end, really on all of it, you'll see it show up on all the chains here on the bass. So that's the low end sound. This is what we got. And honestly, that is a little bit more distorted than I would typically aim for. But in this mix, it actually ended up sounding pretty nice. So maybe I should distort the low end more. Let's move on to the next track, the high track here. So that is just all kinds of nasty sounding. Let's see what we got here. Let's go plugin by plugin. First of all, filtering, right? We have the Let's bring it up a little bit louder. So filtering out those lows. And then it was a little bit quiet, so we're going to use this limiter probably just to even it out and bring the level up. And so that will help keep the distortion more consistent. Going into here, you keep a constant signal going in, and you get a constant distorted sound no matter how hard the bassist is picking. So this is actually a free amp sim. It's the Soft Amp PSA. There's a version of this that comes with Pro Tools. It's a free plugin included with it. This is not the same one, but it's it's modeled after the same amp. But it does pretty well for getting a nice grindy high end for your bass. So let's take a listen. So there you go, distorted, completely. Then we have multipass. This is from the Slate Everything bundle. It's basically just getting some more distortion on the mids here. You'll see we got this mid band with a Faturator, mega distortion. Let's listen to how that sounds. And bypassing it. So that really just takes the distortion to a whole nother level. I mean, we're really just mangling this. And then we've got another EQ, really just cutting a little bit of the upper mids. Probably didn't like this. Let's see what that frequency sounded like. I'll boost it. So yeah, just a ringing, harsh frequency. Got rid of that. So now we got the low and the high together. Sure, got to put that back at the right level. So just when you thought there was enough distortion, turns out there wasn't. Let's look at the shred channel. So this one, yeah, I was just looking, if I remember correctly, I actually filtered this one out after the amp sim, because this particular distortion amp sim, when I cut out so much low end, the amp just sounded weird. So I liked feeding the full spectrum tone into the amp sim and then filtering out afterwards. So that's why this is bypassed here. So once again, go ahead, we'll bypass all this. And this looks like a bunch of plugins, but this is basically just one guitar amp chain here. Overdrive into amp sim into cab sim. So start off with the TSE 808. It's a free Tube Screamer emulation plugin. And basically for this tone, I just really treated it almost like it was a guitar and just went for a massive, massive high-end distortion sound. So we're not there yet, but overdrive. And then I'm gonna add the cab sim. So just a really consistent, nasty distortion sound. And then we got an EQ here. Like I said, we're gonna filter, and then a little bit notch here in the high mids. And that's sounding awesome right there. And then once again, L1 is back to save the day. Again, just pinning things down, making it sound really consistent. And then all those are going to come together to the bass bus. We'll bypass this processing just to hear how it sounds before that. Sounds pretty good. So then we kind of put the sweetener on the end here with a couple extra plugins. This is the Slate Virtual Tape Machine. This adds, really, I like to use this to add some really nice low end to my bass, kick drum, to my master. This plugin lives on my master chain on every mix I do. So let's listen to what this is doing. So listen to what that does to the low end and just enhances that high-end distortion sound. Listen again. That's actually a not so subtle difference. That actually really brings the bass to life. Then we got some EQ, really just enhancing the low and high pass filter. This is to keep the bass out of the way of the kick so that it doesn't muddy up the kick area. This is a low mid cup, help cutting up some of the low mids, excuse me. And then this is just a little high mid boost and a low pass. So let's listen to this with and without. So let's break this down a little bit. Look at this low pass. There's all this fizz up here that we just don't need from the bass. The guitar, all this high end, will have that nice shimmery high end distortion. We don't need it from the bass too. It'll sound overly harsh. This is just a minor little upper mid cut, probably to help it poke out in the mix a little more. Very subtle, but it adds a little something. And then low mid boost to kind of cut out some of the mud. Really makes the bass sound overall just smoother. Really, like I said, cutting down the mud and the kind of grungy low end sound of the bass that you don't want. And then last but not least, virtual mix rack. Cut a little bit of channel emulation, console emulation here, going into the FG 116, and this is an 1176 emulation. And this is just that final glue to keep the bass tone all together. And there you have it. That is the bass tone for Dung Blaster. Let's listen to it one more time in the mix. Sounds pretty good to me. So anyways, thanks guys for watching. I hope you're enjoying my videos so far. If there's anything you guys want me to break down, be it in this song or just certain things in general, whether that's vocals, drums, if you want me to look at lead guitars, anything else like that, leave a comment down below, like the video, let me know that you guys are liking the content and want to hear more. Be sure to subscribe so that you will be able to be notified when my new videos come in. Hit the notification bell to get that. And until next time, thanks for watching, guys. Have a great day.